I'm checking in on my compost tea that's been brewing for the last 3.5 days. So I do keep it covered the entire time while it's sitting in the sun. One of the ways you can get compost is making your own compost. It works really well, and I have a few bins and I make compost in my garden. So I actually can use the compost from here. And I'll just take a spadeful of that and put it into my bucket. This is all just kitchen scraps that I put into this compost bin, and that one's pretty close to full. This one I just started yesterday, so it's still full of, well, you can see we had watermelon and mangoes, and I even threw some eggs and coffee grinds in there, and that's how I make my compost. The things that I feel are most important with compost tea are, number one, keeping the bucket covered. Number two, giving it a good stir every day. And then number three is the water. The reason we keep the bucket covered is to keep the mosquitoes out, but it also keeps the bucket warmer so the tea can brew. It's kind of like a sun tea, and it heats up and it does its magic. The reason we give it a stir every day, I'll show you what happens. As you're stirring, you're incorporating oxygen. And I just use a spade or a large stick, whatever's handy. And I've heard people that are really serious about their compost tea, and they'll actually put a little aerator in the bucket, but we're not that fancy here, and it seems to work quite well. If you can, use rainwater or well water or spring water or even river water, depending on where you're living, because that water is clean and natural, and it has had no chemicals added to it. Those are the three main things that I think about when I'm making my compost tea, and so far that's what I've used, and that's pretty much the only fertilizer I use in my garden. And the reason for that is I don't want to be adding chemicals. I don't want to be spraying with any toxins, anything that I'm going to be eating. So any of the vegetables or herbs that I'm growing, I want to have them as clean and healthy as possible. And I also am a very frugal gardener, so I like to figure out what ways I can make my garden grow without spending loads of money on it. And this is a simple way to add healthy food to the garden and to speed up the feeding of your plants. The liquid compost gets right down to the roots very quickly, and it's a much quicker feeding than if you were, sprinkling granules or something like that. If you're using municipal or city water, that tends to have really, really high levels of chlorine, which will kill the healthy bacteria. That's the stuff that we want to actually use to grow the compost tea. What you could do is just leave a bucket of water sitting overnight, and that way the chlorine will dissipate that's in the water. That's a good way to use the tap water if that's all that you have available. So once I've done that, I'll fill this up and then just use it to water my plants. And I'll start on one end of the garden and kind of work my way around. I'll usually give my potted plants a little bit more because they tend to lose nutrients a lot quicker than anything that's in the ground. Today I wanted to show you this simple, easy, and almost free method. You just need a bucket and some compost. I'll give a pretty good feeding to each plant, and I'll usually do this once every 10 days or so. If we've had a lot of rain, I'll actually feed more frequently because we have really, really sandy soil. It's almost like beach sand. so the nutrients just wash away really quickly. And then any of my plants that are in pots, so for instance the peppers right over here, those I would at least feed once every 10 days because the pot will lose the nutrients really quickly, because we have quite torrential amounts of rain here. Like we'll have rain storms that last for a couple hours and the water will be running in the street, so it's a lot of rain, so it definitely washes through and removes the nutrients from the pots. Once in a while, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, I'll actually use the same compost tea in my houseplants as well. And if they look like they need extra work, I'll actually bring them outside and spray them off, give them a good dose, perhaps repot them. And I would love to hear how your garden is growing. Thank you so much for watching. And I hope this is helpful to you, and I look forward to talking with you again soon. Please subscribe, give a thumbs up, and I'll check in with you again in a few days' time.